Hi, I'm Elise Diamond, and I am a memoir author. I've written two memoirs. The first one is Raised by Narcotics, Growing Up in the Opioid Epidemic, and the second is called Not for Teens, The Next Generation's Prescription. And to sum up my story, I grew up watching my family become addicted to prescription medications. What I'm doing right now is working on my third memoir and a follow up to my first. Um, to kind of explain the order of these books, I wrote the second one as almost a duplicate of the first one, but in a way that could reach out to teenagers rather than adults. So my third book will be a follow-up to essentially both books, but mainly my first book, which really is my heart, my soul, my blood, sweat, and tears. The reason why I'm choosing to do this is because I'm a completely different person than when I wrote this book, in everything, including my name. I am Elise Diamond now. I was previously Elise Nyber when I wrote the book. And before that, my maiden name was Elise Nielsen. So I've had a few last names. Um, and the reason for that is obviously I got married when I was young, and went from Nielsen to Nyber to match my husband's last name. Um, 15 years into our marriage, we decided to get a divorce. And rather than taking my maiden name, I chose Diamond, which was my grandmother's maiden name. So still a name in the family, but she helped raise me and was a big influence in my life and honestly my hero. So it made sense to me if I was going to pick a new last name, I wanted it to mean something, and I wanted it to last forever. Um, I did get married last summer in 2024, and although he is the love of my life and things have been much different with him, he's been very supportive of me keeping my current last name. So, yeah, essentially, as I move forward with writing books, I will be Elise Diamond. And so, the website, all my hashtags, if you want to find me on social media, it will be Elise Diamond or at A Diamond Books. And again, the reason why I want to read my first book, and I might read my second book, I haven't decided yet, is because it was either that or change all of the information in the book. And that would be changing my name and updating that, changing the social tags, because I'm not Elise Nyber or author Elise Nyber anymore. And inside the book, I put a lot of information on this front page that said where you could find me, how you could reach me. And those places don't really exist anymore. I published this book in May 2019 after spending probably a good 7 years putting it together. And, at the time, it came out right before the pandemic, a year before. And no one could have predicted that, right? And, so with the book, I was doing speaking events, book signings at bookstores, and working on a foundation I was calling the Bottled Up Foundation. The Bottled Up Foundation was an idea to help youth like I was, struggling with parents who might be addicted to any number of things or who might need additional resources. And honestly, it was a big dream in my head, and I have no idea how I would have ever pulled that off. So I've let that dream go for now. It may or may not come back. And if it did, it would take a lot of people and a lot of resources to pull that together. So, being that I work full time in the medical industry now and am writing books, that eats up most of my time. In addition to that, obviously, I'm a mom. I have two of my own kids plus two stepchildren, and it's a lot of work. It's wonderful and I love it and I wouldn't change it for the world. I'm probably the happiest I've ever been. But working, having a side hustle, and raising a family is a lot for a person to do. So running a foundation isn't in the cards currently, but I wouldn't take it off the table. We'll just have to see how the future, unfolds. So again, my third book is going to be a follow-up directly to this book, and that book is going to be all about support, what support is, what support isn't, what it looks like for every individual on the planet, how we can receive it, why we might not take it in, even though it's being offered to us. I have a lot of ideas for this book, and really it's about shaping our perspective around what support really looks like. And I say that because my family, who I write about in here, my grandma, Jane Diamond, my Aunt Teresa, and my mom, Diane, they all had a story. And none of them, in my opinion, received the kind of support that would have made a big impact on their lives in such a way that would improve the quality of their lives. There was a lot of fighting, there was a lot of resentment, anger, addiction, and we leaned on medications to take care of us, to solve our problems. We leaned on vices, we leaned on escape. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. But the opioid epidemic has impacted, millions of families. And it's a big deal. And the pandemic made that even worse, not better. And so I'm a big advocate for the opioid epidemic and understanding what it was, not shaming people who find themselves in a position of being addicted to something, but rather understanding how they got there and what we could do to actually support them and the family and friends who want to be part of their lives still, and or the young people who don't understand what's going on, which is what I was. That's the book, essentially. I want to read it to you, and then I want to give to you a new book all about support. I won't be reading that one, at least not for a very long time. The situation with this one is much different. I'm not going to be marketing this. I'm not going to be expecting anyone to buy it, or that one. That one's a different story altogether. We're going to let this one go. And it's still available on both Amazon and Barnes & Noble. I would encourage you to buy it off Barnes & Noble rather than Amazon. But it's your choice if it is something that you want to have in your hands. It's also available in ebook. Gotta take a deep breath once in a while. I'm a little nervous about posting videos. I've never done anything like this. I tried doing a podcast during the pandemic, and I think that's a little bit easier because I can kind of look at a script that I make for myself and then record my voice. I don't mind my voice. I mind looking at myself, but I thought this might be more impactful, like having a little story time. So what I want to do is read the back. It's just a little synopsis about what the book is about. We'll start with that, and then the next video will be officially chapter 1. And then we'll just keep going. Every new video will be a new chapter. I'm not entirely sure how frequently I'll post these yet. I'll read a chapter of the book, kind of give some commentary either as I'm going or at the end. We'll kind of see how it goes. So the back says, "It's time to see the other side of the opioid epidemic sweeping our nation. Elise was only a child when the pills entered her household and changed the course of her life. They ultimately led her and her family down a permanent path of devastation. But who was at fault? In a country where addict stories have become a dime a dozen, we are desensitized to the devastating world of narcotics and the far-reaching impact each new prescription can have. What happens to the children who are left in the wake of such an epidemic? Elise bravely answers these questions as she delves into her own memories and shocking family secrets. What emerges is a surprising new meaning of family, support, and understanding. And on the note of support, not to necessarily spoil the book, but on the very last page, page 289, that's how many pages we have to look forward to, I literally say right here, support is it. And the reason I'm writing this next book is because that was such a simple statement that is not enough. I want to give everyone a hell of a lot more than support is it. Yeah, it is, but there's so much more to it than that. It's not a simple thing to give support or be supported. It's so complicated. And I think my life experiences have kind of given me this new perspective on what it means to support someone and what it means to receive support. So it's not just how can others support me or how can I support others? It's what does that mean for everybody? It's more complicated than the 5 love languages, right? It's so complex, and I really just want to dig into that. So the last little bit is about me right here at the end. And again, it says Elise Nyber, even though that's not fully my name anymore. We'll skip the Nyber part and just go with Elise. Elise grew up in Spanish Fork, Utah, and now resides with her husband and 2 children in Portland, Oregon. So again, that's also not true. I do have a husband, but not the one I'm talking about. And I have 4 kids now, not just 2. She enjoys long walks on the beach. That's true. Artwork of any variety, also true. Reading a good book. Listening to heavy metal. Yeah, Rob Zombie is my favorite. And pondering the meaning of life. She has no degree or credible skills to offer other than she is human like the rest of us and has enjoyed writing her experiences as such. I think I tried to be a little funny with that last part. You know how everyone, is introduced, such and such has this degree or whatever. I didn't go to college. I don't have a degree. After I got my divorce from my first husband, I did go to college and I ended up getting a certification in medical assisting, which is what I do now. So I'm at least a certified medical assistant, but I don't have an associate's degree. I don't have a bachelor's degree. I have no plans of doing any of that. This is just me living a really kind of fucked up life, trying to make the best of it. I ended up in the medical industry, and I find that kind of fascinating, considering everything I went through in my life. Ultimately, it just kind of felt like the right next thing to do, and I'm very proud of it. I work for an OBGYN clinic, which is helping women with any number of problems that women have, but also including pregnancies, seeing them from pretty much when they conceive until that baby's born and even afterwards. And I love it. I love my job. I'm brand new at it. I've been in my field for 6 months, but I do love it. And it's taught me a lot. And again, it adds to the what does support look like? What does it look like in any aspect of our lives? When we have a relationship with someone, what does it look like? As we're parents, what does it look like? What does it look like as children? What does it look like when we go see a doctor? What does it look like in really any area of our lives? But the book's not finished yet. I have bits and pieces written. So my goal for 2025 is to get the first draft finished so that it can be edited in 2026. And then hopefully near the end of that, I can have a book ready for you guys. And again, once I'm done reading these books, and there's a very good chance I'll read that one I just have really mixed feelings about that book. Will come a podcast that will pair with the book I'm writing. So I'm going to wrap this up. I'm excited to read the book to you. Hopefully you'll enjoy it and get to understand why both the opioid epidemic is so important to me and why the concept of support is also so important to me. And again, I really want to reiterate, nothing about what I write is meant to attack anyone who's suffering from addiction. It's actually meant to open our eyes and maybe get us to think and understand how it begins for people and how we can go out into the world with less judgment towards them, because it's difficult, and life has really only gotten harder, not easier. And it's mind-blowing to me that that's true, because growing up for me was insanely hard, but it's actually really interesting to be an adult now and go, whoa, some of that was actually way easier compared to what we're dealing with today. Keep that in mind, and we'll start with chapter 1 in the next video.